Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pure Ambition podcast. Today, I'm joined by my good friend, Nikki Zahka. Nikki's a health and wellness creator down here in Austin, Texas, and her mission is to empower people to live healthy, happy, active lifestyles in a sustainable way. Nikki's got an incredible story. She shares how she walked on to be a Division I diver, but she really didn't know what it meant to be healthy. Growing up, she didn't know how to eat right. She didn't know how to optimize her sleep. She didn't know the difference between health and performance. And so she really dives deep and opens up about her eating disorder and how she went from being somewhat chubby to having a poor relationship with food because she was so worried about her self-image, and how that ultimately led her to really disrupting her hormones and going through a lot of pretty crazy stuff and still healing from. So she goes really deep into that. Nikki's an incredible human being. She is crushing it in life right now. She puts on these incredible events down here in Austin. She's helping so many people. She works with some incredible brands. She posts amazing content, and she's just an electric human being. If you want to check out more of Nikki's content, be sure to hit the links in the show notes below. And now it's time to dive into it with Nikki Zahka.
Feeling better.
It's starting to feel better. So
awesome.
we're getting off on the right foot, and then I get stress tests done on November 7th. So
what do they do for that?
basically just like put me on a treadmill and just run me and make sure that I don't
Will that be the first
pretty
time
much
that you
die.
run? Oh my god.
no. Well, that's like I have the defibrillator. So
Yeah.
that's a part of it. But I'll probably try to do a jog before that, yeah. Like I'm not in a huge rush to get back to it, to be honest with you. Like as much as I love running and as much as I can't wait to like
blame
get
you.
back
You almost died. That's
yeah. But I also like I know I have some imbalances that I need to cure up. Like I just really want to get good at mobility and like being good under my own body weight, which is something that I'm not good at right now. Like I know like my hip mobility, my ankle mobility definitely needs some work.
My ankles
are
not good.
My ankles are my weak point,
Yes,
sister.
I can't.
Let me tell you. I have really got to work on my ankles. My hips actually aren't that bad, but ankles are not good. My like T-spine mobility is my upper back and like mid back is just super stiff, and I really just want to get good at like calisthenics and like being good under my own body weight. I'm not in a huge rush to like get back and like push crazy weight or like do crazy running workouts. I really just want to be so like in tune and in touch with my own body before I get back to doing
Love that.
like heavy lifting and crushing myself with running workouts. Like I just really want to be in tune with my body.
I feel like it made you not obviously would never wish this on anybody, but like kind of made you take a step back and reevaluate what you should be focusing on.
Oh my gosh. It like the gratitude that I have on a daily basis now is ridiculous. Like I shoot out of bed and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can get up, I can walk, I'm under my own power.
Life number 2.
Like literally life number 2. I've been saying that I was on a podcast earlier today and I told him, I was like, dude, there was Dom pre cardiac arrest and there's Dom post cardiac arrest. I feel like a completely newborn version of myself. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, we're all excited to see what you do. Dom 2.0.
Dom 2.0, baby. Well,
I love it.
Nikki, I am stoked that we're finally able to do this. It's been in the works for quite a long time, and we finally made it happen. It's funny, I was going back and I was listening to some podcasts that you had been on, and I was listening to you with CJ, like back in the day. Oh my God,
that was my first podcast ever. I was so nervous.
It was so interesting to hear you talk about, you're like, I'm literally shaking right now. I'm so nervous, to seeing you posting now, like you're a natural, like you're posting pretty much every single day. You're cultivating this awesome community online. You're such a talented creator. You're providing so much value. I would never have guessed that you were camera shy just a few years ago.
Thank you for that. I still get nervous on camera, especially doing like photo shoots and stuff. I have no idea what to do with my body, so always need some direction with that. But podcasts, I honestly remember CJ asked me to do it, and I was like, you probably don't want me on there. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like so nervous to talk in public. I just was second guessing everything. And now I told you this has been a goal for this past year of just like getting on as many podcasts as possible. And that was probably a couple years ago, but I feel like I've done a few now where I'm more comfortable talking and just like it's a conversation. It's really you kind of ignore all the other stuff and just dial in and really talking with somebody.
What was so interesting is like at that same time where you were starting to get on more podcasts, you were starting to build a personal brand, and you were an early adopter in Instagram from
Yeah.
what we talked about and just knowing a little bit about you, whereas you were hosting like vulnerable content about your health journey, your struggle with your body image and all these kind of things. You were doing that like long before people were doing it on social media. So it's interesting to hear you saying this about how you were, worried and nervous about going on
Yeah.
camera, but at the same time, like you're sharing this thing that is not easy to talk about, is really difficult thing to talk about. Putting your most vulnerable self out there, like what is the dichotomy there?
I guess. So kind of going back, I've always loved to write. And I feel like I can get my emotions and my thoughts out way better in writing instead of just talking in person or in real time. Sometimes I'll like look back at these podcasts or conversation. I'm like, oh, I should have said something else or I should have said it differently. So I think I'm better at taking my time and really jotting things down, and it comes out better when I write. And I'm able to do that on social media. You have the time to just like think of the caption and think of what you really want to put out in the world rather than when you're presenting in person or having a conversation and it's just kind of going with the flow, whatever comes out. And I guess I'm a little bit of a perfectionist that way. And not that my captions are like perfect or anything, but you do get a little bit extra time to like put in your heart to that. And it's kind of no one's watching me say that or do it in real time. It's like I put it out there and then I'm pretty good at shutting off the emotions if I get like hate or anything from that, and recognizing they're not really coming after me. It's probably something going on with them. So I feel like you get a little bit of a buffer on social media instead of when you're doing talks in person or the podcast where you get one shot and then that's it.
So that post that you say blew up early on, where you shared your transformation, what was that post and why do you think it caught so much traction?
So that was like over 10 years ago now, which is kind of insane. Yeah, but I was sophomore, junior in college. And I honestly wasn't trying to lose weight or anything. And I've told this story a bunch of times on other podcasts, but I walked on to the springboard diving team at UNH. And I was an athlete my whole life, but I would never knew like I was not lifting. I didn't know my way around the gym. So as soon as I started that strength training and learning more and about nutrition and actually paying attention to what I'm fueling my body with and all of that, it just kind of happened. I wasn't really trying to, just making healthier alternatives and choices throughout the day. And so that was the first time that I really put a picture side by side because that at that point I started to get the compliments of you're looking really good or you look really skinny and all of that. And I'm like, oh, I kind of do. So I figured why not look at some pictures, and my mind was blown. So I was like, I kind of just want to share this with people. And it's not like I had an audience, it was mainly my friends. So I was like, this would be cool to share. And it was just a side by side photo of like a year or two before to what I was looking like right then. And it's not like I was super ripped or anything, but you could tell that it's a good 30 pounds in between. And that was before like all of these before and after pictures and all of that really, I mean, it's kind of saturated now, but at the time, not a lot of people were doing it. And I think that just like resonated with people. So I still don't understand the algorithm or how Instagram works, to be completely honest, but that just sort of got pushed out, huge reach. People started reaching out to me asking how I did it. And then I was like, oh, people actually respond to this. So I can share more of what I'm going through and what I really care about. And what I love and really this gym and fitness and nutrition and everything that I'm learning about. And so that's how it just kind of snowballed and took off.
So have you been creating consistently for 10 years?
I was really consistent when I first started, I would say, because when I just started posting that, and then I kept I mean, once you get into something, I'm sure you can understand this, you get pretty obsessed with it. So it's like all you think, live, breathe. And so I was posting probably 2 or 3 times a day, and that's not like transformation pictures and all of that. I was posting like motivational quotes that I really liked. I was posting workouts and then some of those like body pictures and stuff. But I was just posting all of the time just because I was like, oh, I like this stuff. Let's share it with people. And I think that really got me to like 10K. And then just through networking and going to events and other stuff like that, it just kept snowballing and people sharing my stuff because it was still kind of Instagram taking off at that point. Right time, right place.
So you mentioned that, and I didn't know this about you. I mean, I know you put a lot of time into your captions and they're very thoughtful and they're very good. They're very well written. I agree that you are a good writer. When Instagram shifted from pictures to more video and then, the emergence of TikTok and
I hated it.
Okay, so I figured that might be your answer.
Yeah, I was pictures all the way. I hated when reels came out. Now I do a lot of reels and I think they're a little bit easier and kind of more natural. But yeah, I was not a video person at all when it first started. So that took some learning, I would say, and then actually trying to like give it a go. And now I really like it, but like anything, once you get stuck and it's like, if it's not broke, why are you fixing it? But I did adapt the video content now too.
I love that. So take me back a little bit. I know we've talked a little bit about your health and wellness journey, your transformation. Pretty incredible stuff. So you mentioned you were a springboard diver, D1, University of New Hampshire. And you also shared that you really didn't know what it meant to be, or at least it sounded like you didn't know what it meant to be healthy. Like all you really knew was like how to perform. And like there's a difference between health and performance, and there is overlap and there can be and should be synergy. But what was the point where you really realized that you needed to make a change moving forward?
And are you talking about after college or like when I was in college doing all that stuff? Whatever.
Wherever you want to take this journey.
So I would say kind of going back even before then, because I did have that point at, like I mentioned, I wasn't trying to lose that weight or anything. But that being said, my whole life I hated my body. I grew up, I was the chubby one, I had the excess fat. Pretty much my stomach was like, I hated the most. I would look in the mirror, I'm grabbing myself, I'm like ripping myself apart. I do remember I would go through like ups and downs with my weight. And there was one point in my life where, I got a little skinnier and then I put some chub back on, probably my senior year of high school, sometime around then, junior, senior year. And he didn't mean anything by this. He probably doesn't even remember, but my grandparents have a beach house, and I was walking with my dad, and he just grabbed my lower belly and was like, that wasn't there last year. Doesn't, like, he did not mean to hurt my feelings or anything. It's just how he is. He's like very blunt, to the point. I will never forget that. That was kind of a whole like, oh my God, like people notice my body. I look disgusting. I need to do something about this. Like changed my whole life.
How old were you at that point?
I was like 17-ish, 16, 17-ish. And so I did get even more obsessed, I would say, with body image around that point. But so when I had that full transformation, like started to get compliments on my stomach and how I'm looking, I was like, I'm gonna fully go into this. And so that's when I got really obsessed. I was like looking at nutrition guides all the time, learning from all of my teammates who are going to school for nutrition. My lifting coach, I would like pick his brain. I would always practice like off season and everything and kind of write my own plans. And so when people started asking me, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like I get to actually help other people with this too. That caveat, like I wasn't going to school for that, so it's based off of what I was doing. So huge learning curve there. There's been a lot of ups and downs. I am still learning like along the way and doing better as I learn better too. So I know that I didn't do it the best way when I first started, but trying to correct myself as much as possible.
So that transformation from that time when you were 17 to whenever it was that you kind of, from that point on, from when you were 17, like that moment, that really frustrating, sad moment right there,
Yeah.
to the point where you started making real meaningful change for yourself. What did that look like? Like, what were the changes that you made?
Honestly, so in high school, I was one of those people that I would get home, I was eating like probably a half carton of ice cream. Not that much, but like I would have ice cream every day.
Going to work on some ice cream.
Yeah. I had a big sweet tooth, loved ice cream, loved potato chips, just like all the junk food, everything. And so when I got to school and I'm learning about nutrition and training and really like sports performance and all of that, I'm like, this isn't fueling my body to perform better on the board. So it serves me no purpose. Like, who cares if it tastes good in the moment? And I kind of had that mindset switch of better performance, but also this isn't going to give me the body that I want. It did go a little bit too far, which we can get to later. But at that point, it was just making the healthy switches of I need to drink more water. I need to do more movement in the day, like get more steps in, started doing some runs, did lifting just like 3 times a week. It wasn't probably like 40 minutes. It wasn't a huge thing, but resistance training. And then making healthy swaps. Like instead of eating ice cream, I can do frozen berries with like some cinnamon and cocoa powder, and it tastes delicious. And like a little bit of Greek yogurt, it tastes literally like ice cream, or like doing healthy smoothies instead. And just finding little tips and tricks to make my sweet tooth, but like actually something that's healthy and that will benefit me.
So these all sound like they were good, healthy, sustainable choices and habits that you were creating for yourself and things you were doing. Was there something there that also maybe it became like an obsession? Maybe there was some sort of overtraining, under eating. I know that like there's been times in my life where I've gotten like hyper focused and just obsessed about certain things.
Yeah.
And, I was like 205, 208 at my heaviest when I was a sophomore in college when I was playing football. And it was literally just like eating, lifting, and drinking beer on the weekend.
Whole life. Yeah.
Literally. And I was super strong, but I wasn't as like athletic and I couldn't move as well. And, while I was strong and I liked feeling strong, I realized that like, oh man, I'm like super bloated and like all this stuff. And then when I was a junior and I went home for COVID happened my junior year of college. So once I got home, I was like, all right, I need to lose some weight. I need to lose some weight here. I'm like 205. I'm not playing football right now. I was just coming off of a back injury and I was like super obsessed with like fitness and wellness and nutrition and all the things. And I'm an idiot. And I would watch like these like fitness YouTubers and they were like bodybuilders. But I didn't know the difference between like bodybuilding and like just general health and fitness or whatever. And so I was watching these bodybuilders and it was like they're everything I eat in a day. And they would be eating like,
and following that.
They'd be eating like 1,800 calories, only getting like 30 grams of fat in. And like I thought like fat was like the worst thing in the world just because of watching these things. And so then I like crash dieted and I got down to all the way to like 180, which I'm about 180 right now, but I'm a
Yeah.
much like healthier 180 at this point. But all that to just say is sometimes it may look like you're doing all the right things and everything's
And
healthy.
it's not. Yeah, I mean, you bring up kind of 2 points here. So before I get into how I went too far, like the fact of social media, people are looking to whoever you look up to in social media, your big like heroes or whoever you want to look like, and they're not showing you everything. Like you don't see what they're doing the other 23 hours of the day or whatever. Like those it kind of irks me for the day full day of eating because one, they're probably not showing you exactly what they're eating, or maybe that's what they ate that day because they knew that they were recording. But it's also like you can't plug and play that for everybody because I mean, men and women, completely different. We need so many different things because of our hormones, because of like our height and weight, our metabolism. There's so many factors that go into it to make it different. And then if you're a female, like just your height, if you have different stressors going on, if you like, there's a million different things. So, what I'm going to be eating in a day doesn't mean that you should be eating that too. That goes for workouts too. Like, you have to find it's a one size fits one. What works for your body? What are your goals? What are you trying to do? And like, really work that to make it work for you and what you're trying to accomplish. So, I obviously look up to a lot of people on social media, and that's how I got started, and that's what I use for inspiration. But I definitely learned the hard way, like, don't do exactly what you're seeing on social media because you never know what's going on behind the scenes, and it's probably not going to work the same for you.
So what were some of those unsustainable things that might have got you looking better, but
Yeah.
you definitely weren't, your body definitely wasn't functioning properly?
Well, I'd say similar to your story. I mean, I'm looking up to these, like, they were probably bodybuilders and stuff. And so you're looking at how much they're training and then how they show their meals and it looks like 2 calories for their whole dinner. And like the same thing with fats. Cause I feel like there's always kind of different fads going around where, oh, fat is bad and carbs are bad and like all of these other things. But it everything's good in moderation. You just got to find what works for you. But you do listen to all of those when they're going around and trying it. So I definitely cut out a lot of healthy fats. I was hardly eating carbs. This is probably, it didn't get bad until similar to you, COVID. So moved down to Austin. I was still pretty healthy, doing things in moderation and kind of got a good routine going. COVID hit. I stopped going into the office, so it was fully work from home, which meant I had way more time. I started waking up, going for a walk or working out. During lunch, going for a walk or working out. After work, going to lift and doing like an actual hit or like a more intense workout. And nobody needs to be working out 3 days a week. Plus, I wasn't eating more. So I was still hardly eating any fat, not a lot of carbs to fuel all of that extra training, and working out twice or 3 times the amount. And so I got down to probably like 97, 98 pounds. And I was still getting compliments. I was known at this point, I had a good audience following Instagram, kind of known as like having abs and being that really ripped girl. And lost my period. My hair starts falling out. I'm getting super drained, like hardly being able to keep my eyes open after 3 p.m. during work. A ton of gut issues, not regular in the bathroom, like all these other things that I'm just ignoring. Even family members or friends saying, like, you kind of look a little thin right now. And I'm thinking, "Oh, you're just jealous." Like, what? But because you don't take it seriously, you're like, I look how I want to. And so you're kind of blinders to what else is going on. But it's like I might look healthy because I'm skinny and I have abs, but I'm not healthy. And so I started getting my labs done that year because when I lost my period and everything, and MSW, if you know them, and Dr. Or Nurse Doza was like, I literally don't know how you have energy and how you're awake right now, looking at your like cortisol and all of your what was it? It was cortisol, my adrenals, my liver wasn't functioning right. I had zero sex hormones producing, like a lot was wrong. And he's like, you need to change something or you're going to hit 30s and you are just going to crash. You're not going to be able to do anything. And that was a huge wake up call. It's like my body looks how I want it to, but my body's shutting down right now. So it did take a while after that to kind of fully click. Like, I really need to do something, a full lifestyle change. And I need to be okay with being a heavier version of myself for at least like a couple of years, whatever it takes. If I want to live like a long, healthy life, which I do, um, I need to change and do something about it now. And it doesn't matter if I have abs.
What was the hardest part about that process in knowing that your identity has been tied to this like skinny girl, like the girl with the abs and the six pack and the super fit chick, to now like, oh, I'm going to have to completely change this and I'm going to have to be okay. The heaviest version, the heavier version of myself.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before, but it's so true because skinnier, lighter doesn't always mean healthier. So what was the hardest part about like breaking free from that identity of being like the skinny fit chick?
So much of it. I think all of it. But honestly, in my head, for whatever reason, I was like, this is how I grew my audience, was losing weight. If I go the opposite way, I'm not like, there goes all my credit. Nobody's gonna follow me anymore. No one's
Want
gonna
to gain
like me
10
anymore.
pounds in the next
Yeah.
2 weeks? Follow
Yeah.
this routine.
Like I'm gonna have to fully revamp that. So I guess I was just scared that like everything that I worked for in that last like 7, 8 years is just gonna disappear because I am not doing my niche essentially of like what I've fully built my whole audience and my whole Instagram off of. So that was totally scary. It was like, well, there goes my whole passion and side hustle. But also just, I think being okay with myself because I've always preached love your body, like self-image and all of that. And then it's kind of like wake up call. I don't love my body anymore if I'm doing all of this and like I'm not practicing what I preach. If I can't do this and still love my body when I'm seeing it changing. So that was terrifying. And it's also really humbling to say out loud, but like, oh, I'm going through it. It's something that I'm still working on every day. So what I'm saying online, I'm trying to actually practice it, and I'm trying to be very open about that. So even in my post now, I'm saying like this is what I'm saying, and I'm trying to love my body, and I'm seeing that it's stronger, not thicker or whatever you want to say, but it is something that it's a process and you have to work on it every day, and it's not easy, and it's not just a simple turn on, turn off switch. So that's the truth.
How did you pivot as a creator? Because you mentioned a lot of your content, pretty much all of your content was surrounded around that, and having to adopt this new identity. I feel that, like I relate to that now because I had built this audience on running content, on lifting content, on just getting out and doing these challenges and documenting my training to preps and things like that. And in the back of my mind, it's interesting because like before the thing happened with the cardiac arrest with me, I always thought like, what what would I post if it wasn't this? Yeah. And I would have just kept doing the same thing had this not happened to me. And I had to really pivot as a creator through this whole process. And it was difficult, but it's honestly been such a blessing, and it's forced me to think differently, to be more
Yeah.
creative. So I totally relate to you on that and being like tied to this identity and having to take a shift. But for you, how did you pivot from where you were to
Yeah.
then like where you were going?
So I was like, I'm just going to be fully transparent and open what I'm going through. So when I got the labs done, I would share all of that and be like, this is what's happening and this is what I'm going to do about it. And then sharing exactly how I'm changing my life and the changes that I'm making in my diet and my workouts. And actually bring people in to like see that. So I think it was just, this is what I'm going through. I'm still just going to be taping my life pretty much. And this is what I'm going to be sharing. But also, I tend to focus on things and kind of get obsessed with them. So I was like, if I'm not obsessed with working out and doing fitness stuff, like what can I kind of grab onto? And so I started getting into all the recovery modalities. So that's when I started doing like ice barrel and saunas and red light therapy, dynamic sports medicine. They literally do everything. So I've been learning about all of that from them too. But it's like I can focus on healthy recovery and like yoga and slowing down and finding ways to really get into my body again and figure out what works for me and what feels good, and share some of that. So it has been kind of, I wouldn't say random content, but it's like, this is how I'm changing my life with my workouts. This is how I'm changing my diet for healthy hormones and to get like healthy inside and out and fix my labs. And this is what I'm doing for rest and recovery because that's very important and I wasn't doing it before. So I would say my content has changed a lot, but it's kind of stayed the same in the sense of I'm just sharing my life. So my life's changing. I'm sharing that.
Just documenting.
Yeah.
So the hormone piece is really interesting because your hormone health is so important, but it's not what you see.
Yeah.
It's like what's going on inside. And sometimes it takes like that, whoa, seeing the numbers or the levels or whatever else on the labs, on the blood work. And that was something I had done for the first time this year. And, you know, like full transparency, like I was overtraining heavily, and like I found out there was a lot of things I was deficient in. Like my testosterone levels were like super low, my free testosterone was super low. And the doctor told me, he was like, you know, the only reason why it would be this low is like, one, alcohol. And I'm like, I don't drink. And the second would be like not enough sleep, overtraining, like underfueling, like all things that I was doing, you know, waking up at 5 a.m. to go on a run, and then like being up on my computer working until like, you know, midnight, and just
Stress is a killer.
is a freaking killer. But I would love for you to touch on a little bit, like when you say like, you know, get your blood work done to people, I feel like that's like a little bit intimidating. And why do you see it like as being such a valuable thing to do? And is it that still something that you do relatively frequently?
Yeah. I try to do it every 6 months or so just to check on my levels. I think it's important because like anything, you need data. Everything is just data. So
Gets measured, gets managed, right?
yeah. And so if you don't have numbers to look at and go against, like what are you working towards type of thing, you can't really track it or measure it. So getting your labs done to see where you're at, like what is your numbers right now and what is healthy, because they can show you where you're at, whether you're low or you're high in different things. And you might see things that trigger something, like you might not know that you have like iron deficiency and anemia, or if you have thyroid issues, that's something that they can see, and you can actually do some lifestyle changes to fix it before it gets to a point where you need to be taking medication or something. So to me, I'd rather make those lifestyle tweaks and kind of do it more holistically and naturally than just go to a doctor and be like, here, take all of these drugs. Like that's not appealing to me. I'd rather do it the right way with food, with natural, with like exercise and really getting myself healthy by myself, because one, it makes you feel better, but two, I don't think drugs are good for anybody. So I don't want to be reliant on any of that. And I think labs are a great way to say, okay, this is where I'm at. These are the changes I can make. And then every 6 months, I'm going to measure against that and see if what am I doing? Is it working, or do I need to change it again? And so it's just a good guideline to go off of, honestly.
I'm so with you there. I'm team nature
Yeah.
all the way. I think there's so much of our like quote unquote like problems or issues, especially like in health,
From drugs.
from drug. Like
Yeah.
it is so frustrating how everything is just like trying to be pushed to take this or take that. And granted, I'm super grateful for modern medicine because it saved my life
100%.
in the
Yeah.
hospital when I was on the ventilator. But as soon as I wake up, they're like trying to feed me all these
Yeah.
freaking drugs and
They're
poison.
companies. They're trying to make money.
Yeah,
So,
and then I'm literally in the cardiology floor,
yeah.
and I told them every single day, do not bring me any food. Like I don't want it. Like I'm not eating this. They
Yeah.
would bring me just a bunch of crap,
Yeah.
and so they want to like feed drugs down my throat as I'm like recovering from a cardiac arrest, and yet at the same time they're bringing in like cookies and muffins and like apple juice
Everything that's
and
going to make you more sick.
fake butter and like all this crap. I'm like, I don't want this. Like this is insane. Like I go for a walk down the hallways and I see in the rooms and people are drinking, Coke and, Sprite and like all these sugary drinks and bowls of pasta. It's like, what are we freaking doing here?
How are they going to get healthier with that diet? Oh, I can tell more stories because I've had a few friends that have gone a little bit too far and they're in the hospital for like anorexia.
Oh wow.
Guess what they feed them? Pop-Tarts is like the number one thing, and like fake food and stuff, which I get
Well,
you're putting
yeah.
on weight,
Yeah.
but like they're giving them like horrible food.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's not fueling your body. You're not going to feel good, and they're not going to like food because they're going to eat that, feel like shit, and then not want to eat again.
Exactly. I know that. See, that's where it's so difficult because, you see, I mean, granted, like a Pop-Tart is not good food. It's not.
No.
It's not good for you, like in any sense of the word. Like
Yeah.
there's really the only time where I can like justify. And granted, I used to love Pop-Tarts. Like baseball tournaments, I used to crush like a 24 pack in like a weekend.
I ate like probably 2 packs a day when I was a kid. I loved them.
I love Pop-Tarts. I understand, like, for these people who just need to get in calories, like 2 Pop-Tarts is probably something like 400 calories or something like that.
Ridiculous, but
That's
horrible
probably like for somebody with anorexia, they see 400 calories. That's more than half of
disgusting.
like their daily
Yeah.
what they had been eating beforehand, probably. So like, I totally get it. I understand it. Like, but like 400 calories of Pop-Tarts is not the same as 400 calories of grass-fed meat or like something like that.
Like give them something healthy that makes them feel
give them
good.
some fruit, give them some honey,
Yeah.
and a little bit of yogurt, some good quality meat, and some cheese or something like that. Like,
But
that is the good stuff.
I can go down like a whole rabbit hole. I'm just not a big fan of like.
Well, what were the things that you did to? I mean, I don't know if you had any problems with like, or it could be defined as like anorexia or anything like that. But I know from just talking to you that you did undereat, overtrain, all those things. But what were some of the next steps that you took to start to heal? Reverse that. Get your hormones back in check after seeing, oh wow, the labs, the numbers are there. Like, I need to make a change. What were some of those things you had to do?
So I tried to do it by myself at first, because ego,
Of course.
But I knew that I had to increase calories. I did a ton of research, and it's kind of funny when you don't really see a lot of that stuff until it happens to you. So like, I didn't know just how common this was to like lose your period and have really bad hormonal health and all these gut issues and stuff until it happened to me. And then I start looking at it, and then all of a sudden, like, you're getting a million ads, and it's like all that pops up on your Instagram feed, and it's like it's everywhere. I'm like, holy crap. But I knew I needed to do way more healthy fats, so I started eating salmon pretty much every day, a lot more avocados, olive oil, eggs, all of that.
Was that hard mentally to have to start to eat more of those like calorically dense foods that have, the healthy fats? Was that tough?
Yeah, so and I'm not gonna lie, I thought I was eating a ton more, because I was increasing like the healthy complex carbs and everything too. But it wasn't until I was like, okay, I'm not. I did that for about a year. Yeah, I put on a little bit of weight, but it wasn't really like my labs weren't showing any results that much, and I wasn't getting my period back. So it's like, I need to invest in this. So I decided to get a coach and just put full faith in him. Um, uh, he's worked with a lot of different people, ranging from like professional athletes to the bodybuilders to just like lifestyle people, but he's had a number of stories and done a number of podcasts where I listen and I'm like, he knows his shit. Sorry if I'm not supposed to
No,
swear.
you're fine.
And
Do
yeah, and helped many females like get their period back. And so I was like, I'm just gonna put full faith and do whatever he says. And the first thing was like, okay, I want you using a food tracker again and counting calories and macros and all of that. So when I did that first 3 days to track and tell him, because originally he's like, do you know about how many calories you're eating? And I was like, oh, probably like around 1,800, 2,000. And then I tracked it and it was still like 1,500. And so I was like, oh crap, like I'm not eating as much as I thought I was. And this is probably why I'm not seeing anything. He jacked my calories up to like 2,000 right away. That was terrifying. I was like, I can't just add on 500 to 600 calories. Like, I'm going to blow up like a balloon. I'm going to be this like chunky little girl again. And so I was terrified, but I went into it with like, I just need to do whatever he tells me because whatever I'm doing isn't working. And so that, along with, so we jacked my calories up, and then he also told me that I can't work out as much, or not that I can't, but like I needed to do more of a structured, no more hit at all. So I was still doing hit for
What
that
is it
whole
with
year.
women and hit?
I love it. It's just fun. It gets my stress out. So I know it's stress on your body. I mean, now, but like it feels good in the moment because
Yeah.
you're like,
You feel the burn.
yeah, work sucked. Like, yeah, I just want to punch something. I don't know. So you're just like getting aggression out, you're getting your stress out. And like, if you're dead after, you're like, oh, this feels good because like I'm not worried anymore. I don't know.
Right. No,
It's
again,
going
it's just
in my head.
it's so interesting, and I didn't mean to interrupt you there,
No,
but
you're
there's so
good.
many women who just get addicted to these hit workouts, and then they're not eating, and
Yeah,
then
like 6 days a week was doing
their
it.
cortisol is through the roof, and they wonder why they're getting migraines, and they're exhausted, and like all these different things. Like, chill with the freaking hit.
Yeah. Well, learned that the hard way. So he's like, no more hit. So took that out, just went back to my basics like in college. I was just lifting like 3 or 4 days a week again, and then doing steps instead of hit. Still love a spin class, so I'll do that once in a while. But I was doing F45 like almost every day, or like boot camp classes like that. And so it was a huge switch for me for just the training lifestyle. So it was like, I'm going to be burning less calories in my workouts. I'm not going to be working out as much. And then I'm going to be eating like 500, 600 calories more than I was going to. So obviously did not like that mentally going in, but I didn't blow up. So that's a good thing. But you definitely see your body changing, and it is pretty difficult to like look in the mirror and be like, okay, remind yourself this is for longevity, this is healthy for you, this is what's good for the long run, and just trying to focus on like PRs and doing better in training and gaining strength instead of how many calories am I burning in this workout. It's like, do I feel good? Am I getting like lifting heavier, doing more reps week over week? So having that mindset switch of, instead of focusing on the scale and how I look and all of that, it's just focusing on getting stronger and feeling good and fueling my body right.
So, are you still tracking calories?
I am.
How long has that been?
I started with Brandon last January, so it almost we're going on a year, but and it was kind of full circle. So when I first started all of this and I was losing weight is when I first started tracking my calories, and it was the opposite. It was like I thought I wasn't eating that much, and then you track it and you're like, holy crap, like I'm eating a ton of food because all of these disgusting things I'm putting in my body are a million calories. And so that helped me kind of rein it in at the beginning. And then I stopped counting calories once I like got a good routine going. And so like coming full circle, it's the complete opposite way. It was like, oh my God, I'm not eating nearly enough because according to my watch, I'm burning about 2,000 calories a day. I'm only eating 1,400, 1,500 calories. And still it's been like that, trying to reverse the like metabolic adaptation. So my body thought that was normal, so my like maintenance calories was 1,400, 1,500, even though I was burning 2,000 calories a day,
Mm.
because your body's freaking amazing and it just like adapts like that. But so trying to get my maintenance back up to I'm burning the same amount that I'm eating, and that's taking a long time. I'm still technically in a deficit and like kind of still gaining, but I like to think it's more muscle than fat, so it's like a slow gain. And once I get to a good stage, then I can start thinking of, okay, I can do kind of like what bodybuilders do. Like if I want to do a fat loss phase, that's going to be for a specific amount of time. It's not going to be for 10 years or like for the rest of my life. Like you can't be in a deficit for that long. It has to be kind of ebbs and flows.
Yeah, the macro tracking, counting calories is such an interesting topic and such a hot topic of debate. And I've
Yeah.
been on both sides of the fence. Like after COVID, or after, the height of it, and I was going back to school to play football, I was like 182 and I was really struggling to put on weight again.
Hmm.
And I thought I was eating way more than I was. I was like, I'm probably eating like 3,000 calories, and I was eating
Yeah.
like two. So for me, it actually forced me to eat like way more than like,
For performance.
yeah, for
Yeah.
performance, exactly. And so once I got into, I was eating like 3,500 calories a day to get and like obviously working out a lot for football, and
Yeah.
was able to gain, like 10 pounds or so over like a year period. But I also see is like you get so addicted to like the numbers of things, and like if you're out to eat, it's like, oh, I wonder how many calories are in this,
Yeah.
and then you're trying to like find it on my fitness pal and like, or like make up, these macros or whatnot, and then you're constantly just thinking about it. So it is a really helpful tool, especially when like if you just eat pretty much the same thing every day. For the most part, it does become pretty easy. But I
Yeah.
also do know people who have gotten like addicted to
Unhealthy.
an
Yeah.
unhealthy relationship with it. And every time like I've gone back to it, I use it really just like as a tool. One, to just make sure usually I'm getting enough protein in. Um, Calories I can kind of gauge just based off of like, am I sleeping well? Am I getting brain fog?
Yeah.
Like, how's my like, am I getting like lightheaded? Do I feel energized? Do I feel more focused throughout the day? But it's all like come through experience. But for you, what has your relationship been like with it? Like, have you struggled with it at all?
It's a much healthier relationship now. I think the weight loss, using it for weight loss can be, especially for females, like a little bit tricky. And you do have to get that. It's about, all about your relationship with food. So heal your relationship with food first and then think about that. Um, so if you do get to the point where, like during COVID, when I was very unhealthy, I was at a point where I'm like, I might need to throw out my watch because I was obsessed with how many calories I was burning.
Mm.
And so it wasn't even like the food portion, it was like a competition with myself, how many calories I could burn each day. And so that gets very unhealthy too. The food part, like, yeah, a lot of girls can like fixate on that and just try to eat as little as possible or something to get smaller. But if you have a healthy relationship with food, I think it's an amazing tool to use, just like you said, to make sure that you're getting enough calories, to make sure that you're hitting your protein numbers. Like maybe not focus so much on the calories, but just make sure that you're getting all of those micro and macronutrients that really fuel your body. Um, and it can be really helpful for that way. But as soon as you notice that you're getting a little obsessive with it and it's something that you need to have or need to know those numbers every day, like maybe take a step back. And so I definitely had to do that a couple times. I think I'm in a healthy place now. Like I've been doing a ton of trips this summer, and like when I'm on vacation, I'm out there just like having some drinks, having a good time, eating whatever, and I'm not going to track and I'm not going to think twice about it. And that took me a while to get to that place, but having that balance and then be like, okay, I ate and drank a little bit too much this weekend, but like I'm not going to punish myself for it. I'm just going to continue with my program and get back on track, and it's all going to even out.
So what's the ultimate goal with your Health and Wellness right now? And you've been working with your coach for about, almost, I guess, almost 2 years, like closing in on like 2 years or so.
Almost 1 year.
Almost
So it
1
was
year.
last January.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was thinking like 2022,
Yeah,
2022.
I tried it myself for a while
Got it.
and realized
Okay.
it did not work.
So what are you pursuing right now when it comes to health and wellness?
I would say getting my labs healthy, which my last one was actually the healthiest I've ever had my lab. So that was exciting.
Let's go.
And I'm actually producing sex hormones again, so that's good. Still low on testosterone, but at least I'm getting estrogen now, and my liver is getting much better, which is really good. Cortisol manageable. So that was the one thing, like my adrenals and my cortisol were not good at all. They were terrible. So I think getting my inside healthy is the most important. And then from there, I can kind of shift and be like, okay, now I can, once I'm healthy on the inside, I can focus on what do I aesthetically want to look like again. And I think now that I've gone through all of that, I can do it in a healthy way.
I love that. It's so hard to kind of take a step back at times too and think about the long term, especially in this world that you and I live in, where it's constant like comparison, and you can say it's
And
not
being on social media.
social media is not. It's like granted, social media is like food.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like food. It can fuel us, and it can really elevate our quality of life and our friendships and relationships, and it allowed you and I to connect and be able to sit here together. But at the same time, like,
has a dark side.
It has a dark side. So if you let constant consumption weigh you down, and you have these people who you're comparing yourselves to, like, I want to look like them, or I want to accomplish what they're doing, or this, that, and the other, you don't know what's going on inside of that person's head or inside of that person's body. Like, just because they're able to run like, a marathon every couple of months, and or like these ultra marathons, or get the lift this incredible amount of weight, or whatever, they look super good, does not always mean that everything is all good. So,
well, even funny enough with that, I was like, so I still catch myself doing that. And like when I shifted my focus from like the HIIT training and all of that, and more on lifting again and strength training and trying to get better at that, I'm seeing all these videos of these girls like squatting 300 pounds, deadlifting like 400 pounds, and like hip thrusts for 1,000,000 pounds and all of that. And I'm like, how do they do that? And I remember, I'm forgetting who it was, but I mean, I have a ton of strong ass friends, so that's awesome. But I just DM'd somebody being like, how do you freaking do that? I'm like, half of that weight. And I just remember the response is like, Nikki, you're half my size. You have to remember, like, it's all relative too. Like, you shouldn't be aiming for the same number as somebody that you see on Instagram, because you don't know what their height and weight is, or what they started with, or they might have been doing it for 10 years and like you're just starting your journey. So you never know those aspects too. But that was kind of okay, you're right. Like, I probably will never hit that number. Like, I'm just a 5'2" little shrimp, but so that was funny.
I'm curious. You have a lot of really exciting things going on in your life. You just got engaged, which is super exciting. You work with a lot of really cool brands. You're helping a ton of people online. I know that you're, very into your professional career too, that is outside of health and wellness, which is super cool that you're able to balance those two things together. You're on your own healing journey. So you're just somebody who just exudes life and like positive energy, which I love.
Thank you.
What is one thing that really excites you for the rest of 2023?
Ooh, that's hard. I have a lot of things that excite me. I mean, you named a lot of them, but so just getting started with the wedding planning, so that's really fun.
It's a monster, sure.
But I think honestly, this summer I've been traveling so much, so I haven't really been able to be consistent with my plan. And I've seen great progress, but I think now that I'm here in Austin for pretty much the rest of the year, I just want to be like heads down, do my program, be really consistent, hit all of my numbers, and really see if I can become the healthiest version of myself for going into 2024. So I think that's really my focus right now, is trying to be my healthiest best self. And then 2024, just full send.
Full send 2024, baby. Let's go. I love that. All right. So my last question I ask every guest that comes on the show. This is the Pure Ambition podcast. And to me, pure ambition is being in relentless pursuit of the best version of yourself each and every day, and aspiring to give back to the world based on what I learned through my own experiences as I pursue the happiest, healthiest version of me.
Love that.
So, and I only say that just because I realized I haven't shared my definition of it in a while. So I wanted to share that. And I would love for you to share with the audience, when you hear those words, pure ambition, what does that mean to you? And how does it apply to your daily life?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, first things that come to mind is honestly just like full grind. If you know what you want, going after it. Like, don't let anything stop you. And I think I try to do that in my everyday. It's kind of like, okay, I know where I want to go. I know my goal. How am I going to get there? And not allowing all of this other clutter and noise and stop you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I know, like, my whole mission in life is just helping other people create the healthiest, happiest versions of themselves. And so that's what I'm trying to do every day. And that's my ambition for the rest of my life, if it goes that far, but if people will let me. So that might be kind of a roundabout, but pure ambition is just like knowing who you are, your goal, and going after it.
I love it. Very well said. All right. Well, if people want to check out more of your content, they want to connect with you, what's the best place they can reach you?
Instagram, for sure. Fit with Nick.
Fit with Nick.
Yep.
All right. Well, Nikki, this was epic. I'm so glad that we got to do this. I'm so grateful for you as a friend. It's been amazing to just connect with you on a deeper level since I've moved to Austin, and we're constantly making connections with each other for different brands and people and whatnot. So just really grateful for you as a human being, and I appreciate all the positive energy you're putting into this world.
Thank you. I appreciate you too, and everything that you've helped me with. So you've connected with me with so many awesome people around here, and you literally just came to Austin. So appreciate you having me on. Had fun.
We'll have to do it again soon.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. I wanted to give you all a heads up too that I launched a free community on the Upspace app where you can join, ask me questions, connect with like-minded individuals, follow my 4-week running and strength training program that has some dedicated mobility sessions in there as well, so that we can all optimize our health and fitness together. So if you're interested, head over to the App Store, download the Upspace app, and join the Pure Ambition community today. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.